Hello and welcome to my other workbench. The first workbench, missing the green mat. I don't know where my green mat went. I feel kind of lost without my green mat. It helps me know where the framing is, but anyways, I am here to explain where we are with the plastic injection machine, which is the project that is on the go right now. We've done fairly well with it. As you can see, I'm a little bit further ahead than, hang on a sec. Sorry, my computer is very loud, so I'm turning it off. We've gotten it to a very good place, where it actually, I did a couple of tests on it, and it does work. Now, I will explain the differences between what I've done and what Buster Beagle has done in his version of this machine. Buster Beagle has made, I'll put the link below, Buster Beagle has made a machine that is very complete and works very well, and he offers in that video of his on how to make the machine, he offers an injection cylinder plus the head and the plunger. And he offers it at $150 American or so, which, given the quality of machining on it, based on what I've seen in the video, it's a very, very good price. That comes to probably about 200 Canadian plus shipping, and I can't afford that personally. So I've been trying to come up with an as cheap as possible alternative to the Buster Beagle stuff. That works good enough for my level of putting things out. And so I've managed to do that. And I will go through with you right now in this video all the adaptation we've done involving all of these common household items with a bit of ingenuity and some skill on some level with something like welding, unfortunately, and maybe a bit of machining, basic machining, that would get you to a similar place to what Buster Beagle has, only maybe on the cheap. So what I've done is I've taken common gas black pipe, because it has a nice thick wall, is very cheap. A section about 2.5, 3 feet long would be less than $20 at Home Hardware, for example. And with this black pipe, I went to Canadian Tire, because I'm in Canada, and I went to the fellow at the desk and I said, hey, listen, I've got to adapt this black pipe to a wider diameter, and I'm just trying to figure out how to do that on the cheap. Do you have anything that works? I wandered around the store aimlessly for a while, and the people there led me to the automotive department, and in the automotive department, they showed me this muffler adapter. And they have a whole selection of muffler adapters for different sizes, and this goes from 1 3/4 to 1.5, and was $8-9 Canadian. So I bought a couple of those, $6 Canadian I think actually, so I bought a couple of those. And this black pipe I pulled out of a dumpster, and then I came home and I welded this. I cut it down and I welded it on. So this fits about here. I cut this much off down here and I chopped off the top, and I welded it on, which means that, you know, in order to do this you would need to know somebody who can weld, and I did an adequate job, not a great job. And then I tapped and bore 3 holes so that this, which I have a video for, which I made, it's the nozzle, can fit in when everything is clean. Fits in beautifully, very tight fit, like that. And I can then thread it with 3 M3, that's M3 size nuts, and there's 3 of them that go around for even gripping, and they hold it in place so that it will not pop out when there's pressure on. I was hoping to be able to thread it so I could screw it on, but I couldn't do that because I don't have the machinery to do the threading. Sorry for the noise, but it's hard to get off now. Okay, it's on. And so basically, The only things I had to make custom really were this, and I chose to make this custom, the head as well, because I was having fun on the lathe, and you'll see that video as well down below, or in my channel. And as for the part that is the plunger, this is the part that plunges into the head, into the cylinder. And what I did was, again, like I said, I made this part custom out of aluminum. However, you could have, one could use just something, if you could find a piece of metal, some washers stacked with a couple of nuts holding the washers in place. You could use some washers as well, because this is a standard pipe and some washers would probably fit fairly nicely. And then file down the washers. It's a bit more work, but you could probably do that. And this is a 1 1/4 stainless steel pipe for gas as well, I believe, from Home Hardware as well, with, okay, with an end, a pipe end that fits in there. Again, from Home Hardware. These were $6 to $7, $8. These were $4 or $5. You know, that fits in, and you could tighten that up if you want. You could put Loctite if you really want to have it in there. Loctite being a type of glue. And this fits very nicely into the machine. The machine assembles around all of this beautifully. And it works. I've tested it. I've done some basic plastic injection, not successfully. You know, here's the original Beetle. Here's a copy. It worked out okay, but it wasn't quite perfect. And this is a 3D printer plastic that I melted down. And it got squished a little bit. From a squished Beetle, it works as an injector. You know? And so, I am very pleased with that result. So what I will do is I'm going to take these things and put them back in the machine. Now that I got this apart, I wanted to have this open so I could take it apart and look at what I'm, you know, try to look at what I'm doing and get it ready for the proper plastic. I got a bag of the proper plastic in the mail. Small bag of black plastic that was kind of expensive, but it's a test. And if this really works well with the appropriate plastic, which is polypropylene beads, then I will go ahead and buy a substantial amount. Really, really different plastic. Has a completely different feel from my corn-based plastic. I like this plastic because it's corn-based and it can break down very quickly in the environment. It smells like sugar, actually, and it will break down in 500 years or so and become dirt and edible to insects, and this won't do that. This will take a much longer time. So I do prefer this plastic, and if I could find some of this to melt down, I would use it. However, I will go with this for now as a test and make something that will last 5,000 years. Now here is the machine. I may have to zoom out and get it in frame. Yeah, I do. How about that? So I may edit this and I may not. Now, there's the two component areas. Try to keep this on the workbench. Okay. Pretty good framing. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is 3D printed. I used white PLA because I want to get it used up. And here's the machine partially assembled, partially disassembled really. These are the two heat bands and the heat sensor. And this is the plunger. Now I'm going to put the plunger in to the machine. I'm this is where the plunger would go. It goes in like this. Fits in well because I filed it down. And sits. And the collar holds it here so it won't go too far. And then this is just the usual, you know, Allen key and nut. And then tighten that to your heart's content and drop it on your toe. And if you tighten it enough, it'll fit pretty well. Am I still in frame? Pretty close. So this here is now pretty well locked in, and you can thread it up and thread it down to have maximum reach with the plunger head. And this is the cylinder. And this is where I welded this lump out and put on an appropriate nut and retapped it. And this is where the heat sensor goes. It goes in there. And so I'm going to try to get this thing out so I can put this together properly. I'll pause the camera. How's that sound? So I got the head out and I got the pipe open. And now I've got to line up the taps because I tapped them through and I threaded through into the aluminum. And so the idea is you line it up like this and you pop it on like that. And then you take your M3s and you can screw them in very carefully. And I'm not wearing my optivisor, so this is tricky. There we go. Goes in like that. Goes in like that. It's hard to tell. I made markings where the holes line up, but I got covered in goop. And then this goes like this. Then I take my Allen key and I tighten the threads so there's no unnecessary pressure on the bolts. On the M3 bolts. Like that. And I just realized I did this backwards. These need to be off so that I can get the collars on. So I unscrewed them. And I say dough. I put them somewhere where I won't lose them, because these things disappear very quickly. They're black, in a dark basement, slightly magnetic, and easy to lose if you breathe too hard. So now I got to get the bands on, and that'll be challenging with the camera, but I'll do it anyways. I'll see what I can do. So now we're going to try to, get those bands on. And then we're going to assemble the machine. And then, unfortunately, today is a very cold day outside. Otherwise, I would take you outside and melt some plastic with you. So that'll have to wait for a slightly warmer day, I think. We'll see. It was minus a lot last night. There. See? Did that get in frame? Let's hope that was in frame. Kinda? Yeah, sorta. I don't know what that's for. Oh, it's right here. Now this slides through, and this is the standard stuff. And eventually, if I really end up using this a lot, if not for jewelry, then for plastic things, I will end up making a 2.0 version of this, which will be a hydraulic one. A pneumatic one, actually, probably, where it goes like psh, and shoots it in. And now this is the collar that goes up here. Whoa. Yeah, and that's why I have these. And let's make sure even this is this in frame if I do this? Swing it out and lift it up, kinda. Now, this is tricky. I'm trying to remember how I did this. I've got extra bands. I ordered extra of these things in case these things fail, because that could happen. The reviews on these heat bands were sort of all over the map. Some were saying they were great, other people were saying they died after a couple of uses. I don't know what they were using them for. So I bought extra. They are not cheap, but they were not expensive. 2 bands in Canada were $50 or so. Well, 40 really. I got them on. I shopped around and found them for 40. So that's $20 a band. But they can be up to 50. And I may cut some of this out because it is really not easy to do. My hands don't work like those two. And that's one advantage of the Buster Beagle one, is that his heat sensor position thing is smooth and uniform to the machine, to the cylinder. So you wouldn't have this problem if you used his. Mine is not that way. Sorry for the screech. That is very unpleasant. It's like nails on a chalkboard for some people, which I don't enjoy. I'm not a nails on the chalkboard sort of guy. Kinda need that. Not a problem. Yep. Yep. Now one of these things is a threaded thing, and one of these things is not a threaded thing. And I tried to put them on where I was running the screw through the threaded thing first, and that of course had no locking tension whatsoever. So you have to figure out which way it goes and then work with it. And you want to have a nice snug fit, because these bands need to be touching the metal fairly evenly, or you'll be wasting heat and possibly damaging the bands, I would imagine. I really hope that's still recording up there. That's a nice tight fit. That's a nice tight fit. And I will tighten this a bit more, and then I'll bring the camera down to this level. And here is where the sensor goes, right there. This is recording, right? Yes, it is. So I'm going to pause the camera, and I'm going to bring you down to the lower level. And here we are on the lower level. Welcome to the lower level. And we will have this tighten in like this. I'm totally using the wrong thing. It's a tightening nut. But it's fun to use the wrong thing. Make it a nice snug fit without going too far with it, because it's just like an inexpensive steel. There. And that's it reassembled, more or less. I just have to put the very hard to find M3s in, and then we're done. And then it's ready to go. I can start using it for the new plastic. The reason I took it apart actually was to clean it out, because it was full of goo and unpleasant plastic. The wrong stuff. And I had to clean it out at least to a degree. And so I have. And now we can start over again with the appropriate plastic. And because I have all these extra spare parts, I have doubles of all of it except for the nozzle and the plunger. So what I may do is make a second cylinder with the bands in place, as I have a second set of bands, and I will make it for wax, dedicated to wax injection. Won't be too easy to swap out. I'll still have to do a lot of disassembly, but I think that might be a good idea instead of trying to change between plastic and wax. And then eventually I might try to come up with a way to do a rapid swap out. Have quick connectors on these wires, maybe. Have this clamp be open here so it's more of a U instead of an O, so that you just slide it out and slide it in, and then have it hold in place like this. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I'm sure there's a way to do it. And we are almost done. Now this is not as nice and neat as the Buster Beagle machine. Mine is a bit more cyberpunkish. Wires and things hanging around. I cannot get that out. There we go. So there we are. Now it is ready to go. I just have to tighten a few things here and there, and then later, when the weather warms up, I will take you outside, and I will try to melt some plastic with you, and then we will try to do an injection of this mold again. The link is, well, this mold is in my feed, the making of that mold, which was a success, such as it is. And yeah, that is my version of the Buster Beagle machine. On the slightly cheap. Not completely cheap, but the slightly cheap. Hang on, I'm trying to fiddle with the camera. You know, there's the top part, and there's the lower part. So thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions on how to do this way, on the cheap, please put the questions below and I'll try to answer. I live in Canada. I don't know the American equivalent of Home Hardware or Canadian Tire. But any automotive shop should have some of this, and any home repair shop should have some of this. All of this. I mean, this is, you'll find your parallels in the States or whatever country you're in, I would hope. And if you have questions I can answer, I'll answer them as best I can. So thank you for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Take care.